Hello and welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Dark Sage Walker, and I've been going through some very interesting problems. And when I say that, I mean basically I had a nice little mental breakdown. Jazz. It's not fun. Not fun going through these sorts of problems that things like that cause. Mostly it's because I just get so sick and tired of our management company at the apartment that we're living in. But enough of that. We didn't come here to bitch about that. So, this is going to look very familiar. Basically, the idea being that we've got ourselves. Well, I got myself a. Hold on, my brain is not working right now. But I got myself a request to do a field berserk run. So this is going to look very familiar to many of you. See, I can't remember what exactly the Dash Arcana was that they wanted to use, or they wanted me to use. I'm trying to remember. So let's kind of go over this. What dash did they want me to use? I don't even know. I completely forgot. That's embarrassing. So, I think... I'm just gonna stick with what I have. Now, the other problem that I'm having here is that I don't remember what relic they wanted me to use. So, I'm going to say that this is probably good for now. Now it's just a matter of what's... So, for you who offered this particular challenge, I'm sorry I don't remember exactly what it is you wanted me to use. So, we're just going to wing it. So now we look for our usual. Which, of course, is not going to show up. So I suppose this is a good time to apologize for the lack of uploads over the last few days. As I've already said, I had a little bit of a mental problem, as I had already brought up. My anxiety and depression got the better of me thanks to our apartment management company. Then it was just a matter of essentially bringing myself back to normal, and bringing myself back to a reasonable state. And that took a few days, and I've also been rather busy. Like, the last few days have been basically all about recovery and just taking care of business. And I think we're just gonna go and see what happens. Well, this has been a fun run. Okay, that room was awful. Okay, this is not going well. Okay, well, we're definitely gonna want this. Now let's come back here. Alright. Okay, frozen bait might actually be the right idea here. So, I'm going to be honest here, I am not the biggest fan of homing flares. Like, I actually find homing flares to be a little iffy. Like, just because it homes in on enemies doesn't necessarily mean it's that good. But that's also just a personal bias speaking. I've just not had a lot of luck with homing flares. So it's very possible that, you know, it might be a little bit better than I give it credit for. But yeah, it's generally never been anything that I'm super excited to use. But this was a part of the idea. So we're gonna give it the old college try, but also keep in mind that I have not been practicing much because I've been just in such a bad state of mind over the last few days. Let's go ahead and grab this. There we go. Alright. That was a lot of damage for one floor, holy crap. Alright, so admittedly, this build seems like it would be doing a lot better on a non-retro floor plan run. Because the way things stand with this build, it's really hard to control crowds effectively. So hopefully hopefully you can understand why I might be having trouble with this particular run. See that? Ugh. Okay, well, we definitely want this upgrade. So, there's a reason, of course, why this is such a popular build, and that's, of course, because the build is, by all accounts, pretty simple to use. That doesn't necessarily make it bad. Like, on the contrary, the build, this particular build archetype is popular for a reason. Yeah, I want that. But that having been said, I've done a good number of variations on the Fueled Berserk Earth Knuckle build, and So it's worth pointing out that this particular build is interesting. And part of that is because I've just never been a big fan of homing flares. But also, with the retro floor plan going, this build can actually be pretty dangerous. Like, this is a build that's obviously very good against bosses. Against just teams of enemies, it can be difficult to use, which is why I'm going for Arcana that are good at controlling space. And a good part of that is when you're dealing with big crowds, it's better to focus on control rather than damage. So that's kind of what I'm doing. If it seems like I'm not using Fueled Berserk all that much, it's because I'm more focused on crowd control than pure damage when I'm fighting regular old mooks. No, thank you. I'll give you the token of elegance. Permafrost Cube is probably a good idea. Alright, what do we got? Okay, well, we definitely upgrade these. And there's going to be a good strong use case for Tracer Barrage, but that's probably not going to be coming up until later. Alright, let's go ahead and grab that. Hey! Nice shoot. Well, we definitely upgrade Wavefront. Alright, so I'm certainly at this point you can see why I chose Frozen Bait. No, thank you. So I've mentioned quite a few times that I'm not the biggest fan of homing flares. But one thing I am kind of noticing is that it's got a pretty decent signature cast. Like, the base spell itself is kind of whatever, but the signature cast definitely makes up for it a bit. Covers a decent amount of ground. And yes, the idea that you don't have to aim it is pretty nice. And fortunately, it's on a build that generates signature charge particularly quickly. Not to mention that I've also got a couple of things going on that just charge signature rather well, even without the idea that I've got Surefire, Rocket, and Tattered Scroll going on. Oh, I just remembered. One of the robe that they wanted me to start with was the Fury robe. So I get the feeling that, now that I just remembered that tidbit of information, this build was designed to spam signature with homing flares. So, big whoops on my behalf there. Hopefully you will forgive me for my insolence. Alright, well that kind of alters things a little bit. Honestly, this build is probably better than I'm giving it credit for, because, as I said, the signature cast of homing flares is actually really good. Interesting, but no. Alright, well, we were just talking about that use case for Tracer Barrage, and this is it. Because the Earth Knights are going to have that Mirror Shield effect, it would actually be better to use a spell that they'll have a harder time reflecting. I don't think I have anything I want to sell you right now. Plus, I have plenty of money. Alright, let's go ahead and break out that signature against these guys. Whoopsie. Okay, so now that I have kind of the gist of the run and realize I screwed up with the build, but not in a way that it's super detrimental to anything. I just think, you know, homing flares, and that's kind of the crux of the case here. Homing flares is a very iffy spell under most circumstances. But given that the entire point of this build is, especially if I had, you know, chosen the right rope from the very beginning, designed to essentially farm signature casts, then I probably would be doing, I'm not going to say better, but it would be a slightly different experience. Fortunately, I found relics that are essentially emulating that idea. And we've got a lot of power behind what we're doing right now. And fortunately, the way the build has been going is making a good example of what I was saying before, which is that, again, that under regular circumstances against just regular enemies, you definitely want to be making more use of crowd control than Fueled Berserk. So that causes me to want to ask a question about the build in general. Was the main damage source ever supposed to be Fueled Berserk and Earth Knuckles, or was that there just to quickly farm signature? There's actually a good number of spells here that I like, but I'm going to stick with what I have because, hey, it's been working so far. Oh, hello. More Sylvan aid? Yes, please. So at this point, I'm going to be hoping that that things stay relatively normal now. I won't lie, even though my job isn't glamorous, I am enjoying it. And I think that's because the people I'm working with actually, you know, appreciate me. So, whether my job is super glamorous or not, you're not gonna hear me complaining about the idea of the people around me actually appreciating what I do. Thank you, Doctor. And I think in the long run, that is the most important part of it all, is just feeling appreciated for what you do. Is even if your job isn't necessarily glamorous, you can still feel fulfilled just by just by virtue of the people around you actually giving a damn about you. And ultimately, in the long run, that's kind of what I want to reinforce today, is that you should never be in a position where you're feeling unappreciated. If for some reason what you're doing isn't being... Like, I'm not saying you should expect to be... You should expect to be just consistently praised at all times for everything that you do. But you should never feel unappreciated either. And if someone or something is making you feel like less of a person, then it might be time to evaluate the... Might be time to evaluate what's going on in your life. But no matter what your situation, don't ever let anyone tell you that you're a bad person or that you're not good enough. And if someone is making you feel that way, talk about it. Don't let people get you down just because they feel like being a dickbag. Hey, our society is giving us enough trouble with things as it is. That did not work out as well as I would have liked. Alright, so let's quickly reevaluate at the end of the run here. The idea that homing flares does not do a lot of damage kind of is something that I'm reevaluating, because even though its damage is iffy, it does offer a good bit of control factor, and its signature cast is actually pretty good. So, you know, consider my mind somewhat changed on that. Perhaps homing flares is better than I give it credit for. Also, 26 minutes on a full-length run, not bad. Now, I'm attributing part of that to Strongman's Hammer, but, you know, obviously we had something that worked out very well for us here. I mean, between all the damage ups, the critical hit bonuses, and a very good amount of signature signature charge increases, I think we had something good going on here. This is definitely a good run. So, I stand somewhat corrected about homing flares. I still say that the spell itself is mediocre, but that signature cast makes up for it quite a bit. So this might be something worth experimenting with, using the Fury Robe, and I get the feeling that's what the person who gave me this run idea in the first place was going for, because they were using the Fury Robe. So actually, I'm gonna say good job on this one. I feel myself wanting to experiment more with homing flares in the long run, just like I had been experimenting quite a bit with Aqua Vortex. And will continue to do so, not because I feel like there's much more I can learn from Aqua Vortex, but because I think Aqua Vortex is a great spell. So, before I leave you guys today, remember the advice that I gave you. Never let anyone make you feel like you don't matter or like you don't deserve good things in life. Don't let anyone drag you down. And I say that because that's what my apartment management company was doing. Is they've just been dragging us down. It's complicated. I'm not going to go into details, at least not yet. Suffice it to say, though, if someone is making you feel like less of a person, don't take it. Because you deserve more. You deserve better. And that's all I've got for right now. So thank you guys very much for being patient with me and continuing to support my channel. I appreciate all of you. Right now, I'm working on some Tears of the Kingdom engineering. I'm trying to put together some interesting builds right now, and the one that I'm really having some fun with is the Beamos tank. I will play around with that and show you guys more of what I have in mind as soon as I have the build complete and I feel happy with it. So, again, thank you guys very much for your continued support. I'm always happy that you want to come and spend some of your free time here with me. I hope you're having a fantastic day or night wherever you may happen to be, and I will catch you guys in the next one. My name is Dark Sage Walker, and take care, everybody.